Hey Scrappers, it's Vanessa here, and today I'm playing along with the Crafty IQ Hop. And basically what this is for a week straight at the beginning of May, we were given 7 things that we needed to add to our layout, and I showed at the beginning of the video the 7 things that were given. And so this is the process. I tried to film a few of the steps as I did them and then the completed layout so that you could kind of see the evolution of this layout. So the 7 things that we were supposed to do for this layout was, the first one was to add mixed media on plain cardstock, add at least 2 contrasting pattern papers in a vertical design. So for that first one, you see I am taking a piece of white cardstock here and some Distress Oxide ink, and I've basically just put them on this stamp block, added some water, and I'm just using almost like the packaging technique, but only on the stamping block. And I'm doing a sort of diagonal design with my mixed media. It's going to kind of go from left to bottom right for sort of a diagonal design for this layout. And so I used those 2 colors. I think one was Tattered Rose and the other one I believe is Worn Lipstick. And those are the 2 colors that I'm just going to use here. I just want it to get a little bit of color down. And then once I have that, luckily my paper doesn't warp too badly because I don't use a ton of water. Once I had that though, I am going to come in with some Hottie Swap Gold Color Shine, and I'm going to add a whole bunch of splatters. And then what I'm going to do is, the paper is still a little bit wet, so these are running. They're not making perfect splatters. But what I decided to do was to actually here, and you see me started doing it here, is I'm actually standing the paper on the diagonal and tapping it down to allow that ink to drip. So it almost gives it the look of almost like veining in marble, and I really love how it looks when it's all dried. So I do go ahead and add a few gold splatters, but once I had that much of my background completed, I did put it off to the side. And here is where I am taking some of the pattern papers that I've chosen for this layout. And I have at least 2 contrasting patterns, so I've met the challenge there. And all of these papers are actually from my May How to Kill a Kit with Style. So I just went into that kit and went ahead and pulled a few different patterns that I wanted to try to use on this layout. And so once I had my papers chosen, I am taking first this grid, which is like sort of a, I want to say it's kind of like a mustard to brown kind of color. And I went ahead, and that's going to be my longest strip. I think I cut about 1 inch off, so it's probably about 11 inches. And then I tore the edges of that, and then the rest of the papers all came from the 6x8 pads that I had in my How to Kill a Kit with Style. So I took 3 of the patterns and I cut each of the papers into 3 inches, and I just went ahead, and I'm only going to use 3 of the 3 patterns, but 1 strip of each of the 3 patterns. And I went and just did the same distressing of the tearing of the paper for those 3 patterns as well. And there you see I brought my background back in, and I am going to put those 3 papers all layered up together as the sort of vertical design that this page is going to have. So the second prompt we were given was to represent music. So it was to use it in your title, embellishments, subject to your photos. In any case, just incorporate it in any way you can. So I went to my wood veneer, and I had these super old wood veneer music bars with all the music notes that came in a really old Scraptastic kit, I believe it was. So I decided to pull those out, and those are going to act as the 2 places that my embellishing is going to go, which is going to again follow that diagonal of the mixed media. I also pulled out one of my stamps that has sort of a music design in the background and did a little bit of stamping, just very simple stamping. So the next prompt after that was, this is a couple of days later, so I've gotten a few more prompts since then, but the third one was to add stars. So you see there to the side, I have stars for sure. The next one was to add 2 different fonts for my title. So you'll see that come into play here as the layout goes on. And then the 5th one was to use something from our stash that was at least 5 years old or your oldest item. So I pulled some October Afternoon as well as some Brads. Both of them are older than 2015, so they definitely meet that. I have my sequins, which are actually stars, so that met 2 of the challenge. And then the 7th one was to add stitching, that could be stamped by hand or actually sewn on, which I went to my sewing machine, and there you see my zigzag stitch that is in the middle of those pattern papers. So I met the stitching challenge. So as it stands, everything I need to get on this layout, I now have. And so with all of those items pulled, I went ahead and I glued down my background, all the papers, all the layers together, layered up some papers behind my photo. And now I am just coming back in with all of these bits and pieces that I pulled from my kit. And I am going to go ahead and create my design, again, following the vertical of the mixed media. I have those brads are there. I have the stars. I have the wood veneer. I have a little Mickey head because this photo is of my daughter and my husband. And we are all at Disney, and I'm taking a photo of the 2 of them. We are actually about to ride the Aladdin magic carpet, I believe. And so I had snapped this picture, and so I have layered up the things behind my photo. I'm now working on my title, which again has multiple fonts. It's going to be My Little Girl, and this title actually is the title of a song by Tim McGraw. And when I was trying to figure out what I was going to use for my title, I knew I had this sort of music theme to play with. I went and searched for song titles that talked about fathers and daughters, and so I found this song, and I plan to print it out and put it on the back of this layout because it talks about dads and daughters, and it's a really sweet the words are very, very sweet. And this little girl who is in this picture is not so little anymore. She is about to go into grade 11 next year. So we are definitely getting to that point where she is going to be heading on her own in a couple of years. And so this is sort of a sweet picture of the 2 of them back when she was a little bit younger than she is now. And so I thought this was sort of like the perfect title. And once I have those lyrics behind the layout, it kind of is a perfect little tribute of the 2 of them. And so I'm just finishing up my layout now with some of these gold sequin stars. So at this point I have met the challenge, and we are going to call this layout good. I will have the links to everyone who is playing along and showing their process or showing their completed layouts for Crafty IQ for this month. So I do plan to play along. I know that they are keeping this going. So with that, guys, here are the still photos. Be sure to check those links down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.